My sister thinks it's funny to joke about my weight when she's the only one who knows I'm pregnant, at her engagement party, but now her fiancé is leaving her for being a jerk. I didn't want to be the one to cause drama at my sister Betty's engagement party. But here we are. I'm 28, and Betty is 30. If I had to define our relationship, the best word would be complicated. We love each other, but we can't help competing over everything. Unlike Betty, who always wanted to meet other people's expectations, I never really cared. We've had our share of arguments over the years, mostly about trivial things, but there was always that sisterly rivalry between us. A few months ago, I found out I was pregnant, something we had been trying for a while. But it was still early, I was only about 10 weeks along, so we decided not to tell anyone yet. My first trimester was rough. Between morning sickness and unexpected weight gain, I wasn't feeling my best. To avoid questions, I had been wearing looser clothes and skipping family dinners where I couldn't avoid certain foods without raising suspicion. Around the same time, Betty started dropping hints about her boyfriend, Mark. She was convinced he was going to propose soon. She kept sending me links to engagement rings and was already planning her engagement party, even though he hadn't proposed yet. But that's just who my sister is. She lives for any event that puts her in the spotlight. Unfortunately, my secret didn't last long. One night, Betty showed up unannounced. My husband opened the door, and I didn't even know she was there until it was too late. I was at my computer, looking at baby clothes, when she walked in and saw the screen. She immediately made the connection and exclaimed, "You're pregnant." I couldn't deny it, so I admitted it. At first, she seemed happy for me and even gave me a hug. She asked if our parents knew, and I told her no, she was the only one. I asked her to keep it a secret for now, and she agreed. A few weeks passed, and finally, Betty's engagement party arrived, after Mark either proposed or she pressured him into it. I don't know. She and Mark spared no expense. They rented a beautiful banquet hall, had elegant floral arrangements, and even had a champagne table so luxurious it could have been for a royal ball. If that was just the engagement party, I don't even want to imagine what the wedding, or the cost, will be like. A few months into my pregnancy, I was dealing with so many physical and emotional changes. My energy levels were at an all-time low, and my feet had swollen to the size of canoes. Finding something flattering to wear felt like a losing battle. After many failed attempts, I settled on a flowy dress that was supposed to be bump-friendly but didn't feel as glamorous as I had hoped. When we arrived, the party was already in full swing. For the first hour or so, I did my best to enjoy it. I was drinking sparkling water, but no one noticed I was avoiding alcohol. Then Betty took the microphone. She shared stories about Mark, made some jokes about their relationship, typical engagement party stuff. Then, she decided to lighten the mood with a few jokes. At first, the humor was harmless, good-natured jokes about how our mom was stressing over the seating arrangement and other small things. But then she turned to me. And the jokes were not so harmless. Betty made a comment about how I had helped eat all the party snacks. Later, in a smaller group, she kept going. She joked that I was preparing for hibernation because I was gaining weight so quickly. I casually excused myself and went to the bathroom. I told myself to let it go, that it was just a one-time thing and everyone would forget about it. But the universe had other plans. When I returned to the group, someone else, clearly inspired by Betty's earlier comments, joked that I was stress eating. That was it. My patience snapped. I told everyone I was pregnant. And just like that, the congratulations started pouring in from every direction. My parents were overjoyed, hugging me and crying with happiness. Even Mark, Betty's fiancé, came over to shake my hand and tell me how happy he was for us. Betty, however, was furious. She dragged me aside and accused me of making her engagement party all about me. I told her I hadn't planned on announcing it, but her repeated comments left me no choice. She stormed off crying. The rest of the night was a mix of people congratulating me and others asking what was going on with my sister. A couple of days later, I sent Betty a long message explaining that I had no intention of announcing my pregnancy at her party, but her jokes left me no choice because they were getting a bit too much. She didn't reply for a while. When she finally did, she was even angrier. She insisted that I could have just ignored her comments or waited until after the party to announce my pregnancy. As far as I'm concerned, she brought this on herself. This is all a consequence of her own nonsense. So, I didn't reply. Our parents got involved. Mom tried to mediate, telling Betty that her jokes were inappropriate and that I had every right to stand up for myself. But Betty doesn't see it that way. She thinks I should have just tolerated a few jokes at her party. Now, she barely talks to me. She's even hinted that she might not invite me to her wedding, which I think is extreme, but whatever. The rest of the family agrees that Betty was out of line with her comments. Only a few people take her side, and, unsurprisingly, they're the ones who have personalities similar to hers. Even some of Betty's friends have privately reached out to me, saying they thought her behavior at the party was inappropriate and that she hasn't stopped venting to them about it since. Apparently, she's feeling insecure because this is her second engagement, and she's worried that people aren't as excited as they were the first time. They're also a bit tired of her constant complaining because, honestly, that's no excuse. I didn't go to the party intending to ruin her engagement. I don't care about being the center of attention. I was fully prepared to announce my pregnancy later, because that was the original plan. I don't understand why she's now upset about losing the spotlight at her party when she was the one who made it about me and my weight in the first place. All I did was shift the focus she had put on me, from embarrassment to pride, because I'm pregnant. I don't owe her an apology like she's suggesting. Almost no one thinks I do. She just needs to learn a lesson here. If she ever has a third engagement, maybe she'll finally understand. Don't make jokes at other people's expense if you don't want to lose the spotlight. It's a simple lesson. She doesn't need to study too hard. Update 1. It has been 2 days since the incident, and my phone has not stopped ringing. Most of the calls and messages have been congratulations on the pregnancy, which is very sweet. But there have also been several people wanting to know all the juicy details about what happened at the party. If I hadn't kept my number private, I'd think you guys were calling. I have tried to keep my responses as neutral as possible because I don't want to fuel more drama than there already is. A simple, thank you, we're very excited, and a quick topic change has been my usual response. Then there's the group of people who just want to relive every detail of the party, who said what and who was standing where. I can't give details to everyone, nor do I want to. I didn't even want to reveal all this, but now I'm stuck in it because of my sister. Yes, I could have continued putting up with her jokes, but how many can a person take? So now I just brush it off with a vague, it was an exciting night, and I'm focusing on moving forward. It feels like a post-game interview, but at least it's neutral. My parents are trying their best, acting as mediators. I understand, they're stuck in a difficult situation, with 2 daughters at odds, both convinced they are the wronged party. My mom calls me every day to check in, and while I appreciate her effort, I can tell she's overwhelmed. She keeps saying things like, you know how Betty is, as if that justifies her behavior. My dad, on the other hand, stays pretty quiet, but I know he's upset about the whole situation. He's the kind of person who hates drama, and this is drama with a capital D. He enjoys the food and drinks at a party, not the inevitable conflicts that unfold. Then there's my husband, supportive yet amused, which is exactly why I married him. He finds the situation both hilarious and slightly mortifying. He keeps telling me to stop stressing and focus on my health and the baby, and he's right. But that's easier said than done when my phone keeps filling up with messages like, did Betty really say that to you? And, oh my God, how do you feel after all that drama? As for Betty, she has gone completely silent. No calls, no messages, not even a reaction to anything I've posted online. I know she's angry, but if she's waiting for me to apologize, she's in for a long wait. Yesterday, my aunt called to check on me but ended up interrogating me about the party. Sometimes, it feels like I was born into a family of gossip lovers. The irony is that before all this, Betty and I were in a pretty good place. We weren't super close, but we weren't at each other's throats either. Now, I'm not sure where we stand. Update 2. You know, having a family full of gossipers isn't so bad, at least when you're not the center of the gossip. That doesn't stop them from calling me to ask what happened, but I always tell them I don't know anything and that they should call the person who actually has the details. This gossip is about my sister, not me. I'm just a loyal follower of family traditions, here to share the story. And, well, this one does relate to my sister's future marriage, so I guess it's relevant. After all, my post started because of her engagement party. The gossip? My sister is a slob. Not in the sense that she's overweight, but in the sense that she loves living in filth. The engagement party wasn't just about celebrating their upcoming wedding, it was also the beginning of their life together. Unlike traditional couples who wait until after the wedding to move in together, my sister and her fiancé had already taken that step just before the engagement party. And now the juicy details have reached me through a relative who absolutely lives for this kind of thing. I swear, they must hold the record for the number of people contacted about a single piece of gossip in under an hour. Over the years, they've perfected the art of summarizing scandals and talking at lightning speed. From what I've heard, my sister leaves stuff lying around everywhere and is, well, kind of gross. I'm not shocked. I lived with her for years and even shared a bathroom with her. But being messy as a teenager isn't that unusual. Plenty of my friends were the same. The difference is that most people grow out of it when they realize that, without a parent cleaning up after them, they'll end up living in a garbage dump. My sister never outgrew that stage, and now her fiancé is witnessing it firsthand. Apparently, there's dirty underwear scattered around the apartment, pizza boxes lying around, underwear inside a pizza box with melted cheese stuck to it, and a pile of used socks that her fiancé swears have been sitting there for days. He told her she needed to deal with them before they started developing a mind of their own. My sister's response? He's just overreacting, because it's only 15 socks or something. Meanwhile, he jokes that he's afraid to sleep at night because he doesn't know if the socks will come alive and attack him while he sleeps. And that's just the stuff you can see. Then there's the smell. We're in the middle of summer, so I can't imagine those socks are exactly fresh. If my sister is as careless about hygiene as she is about cleaning, I don't even want to think about what their fridge looks like. Actually, scratch that, I already know. Expired food, including milk that's been sitting there for weeks. People always say living together can be an adjustment, but my sister is taking that to a whole new level. At this rate, it won't just be the two of them living there for long. She'll be inviting some rodents and cockroaches to move in as well. It wouldn't be the first time. When she lived alone, she had a few of those guests. And for those wondering what happened with her last fiancé, or husband, technically, here's what I know. They did get married, but the marriage lasted a year, maybe less. It's not like I keep a calendar of my sister's major life events. Neither of them ever revealed the real reason for the split. They just said they fell out of love and decided to divorce. But was her messiness a factor? Probably. At least, the biggest gossipers in the family never found out, so I have nothing to tell them. But hey, we might be heading toward engagement number 3 soon. Update 3. Looks like we're gearing up for my sister's 3rd engagement party. Her fiancé has officially called off the wedding, thankfully, long before any serious planning started. If there was ever a good time to break things off, it was now, because any later would have been expensive, at least based on the standards they set at the engagement party. He put up a social media post to break the news, saying that the relationship couldn't continue because they wanted different things. I know he was being a total gentleman, because let's face it, he could have just said he kept coming home to find his fiancée practically nesting in a pile of rotting food and dirty laundry. But the real reason, the one we all know, is that my sister was dead set on adopting a possum, while her ex-fiancé just wanted her to finally part ways with her beloved pile of socks. I'm still keeping my distance from my sister since we haven't spoken in weeks. But at least this whole mess has taken the spotlight off me and onto her. Now, all those nosy relatives are calling her, asking if the rumors are true and demanding details. So far, she hasn't confirmed or denied anything. Everything we know is because her ex vented to someone, and that someone was not trustworthy with secrets. People have been asking what my parents think about all this. Well, aside from the fact that they already knew about my sister's complete disregard for cleanliness, they did celebrate when she moved out. After all, they haven't said much. My mom thinks she could have at least made an effort to be tidier, while my dad has stayed silent. But deep down, I know he's mourning all the food and drinks he could have enjoyed at the wedding, and he's not the only one. The gossip is that the wedding was supposed to have an open bar and fancy catering. I'm not too bothered about that, though, because as far as I knew, I still wasn't invited anyway. So nothing changed there. There are a few things I've refused to mention because they're just too disgusting to say outright. Like, let's just say she left certain feminine products lying around on the floor, you get the picture. Or how she wouldn't even flush after using the bathroom. But I won't get into the really nasty details. And yes, my ex-brother-in-law found rodents in their place, hanging out near some Chinese takeout boxes she left out instead of putting them in the fridge. Speaking of fridges, this one might not be directly related to her messiness, but it explains why putting food away wouldn't have mattered anyway. One day, it was scorching hot, and they didn't have AC because the remote was missing batteries. And since there was no way she was going out to buy some, she figured the next best thing was leaving the fridge door open to cool the place down. Not surprisingly, the fridge motor gave out, and all the food had to be thrown away. Of course, not by her. Her fiancé had to do it. And in other mess-related news, my sister had been feeding the local pigeons, either directly or indirectly, because one day, her fiancé walked in and found an entire room taken over by pigeons. They had done exactly what pigeons do, all over the place. So yeah, I'd say her fiancé was a gentleman. He could have made a post saying, "My fiancé is a filthy slob, and I'd rather marry a wild animal than her." But instead, he went with the diplomatic version. There's been no statement from my sister. Just silence. And honestly, with all the rumors going around about her, I bet she's more comfortable staying quiet. Confirming or denying anything might just make things worse, especially when the official version sounds way better. Update 4. Sorry for not updating when I gave birth, but I figured the community was only interested in my sister's story. Since nothing really happened, I stopped updating for a while. Well, I gave birth, and now my son is almost 2 years old. In a few weeks, we'll be celebrating his birthday, decorated with a new TV show he absolutely loves. But that's not why I'm here. This is about my sister. She's engaged again, and her engagement party is coming up soon. That makes it engagement party number 3. And while our relationship has improved over the years, it hasn't improved enough for me to feel comfortable attending her party. I don't want to be the target of her jokes, even though I've lost the baby weight, or steal any attention from her, since it's my son's birthday. She invited me, but I politely declined for those reasons. What surprised me was that she felt offended that I turned down her invitation. Oh well, I simply don't want to go. Another round of gossip has been making its way through the family, with everyone discussing why I'm not attending. But at least, from my side, the reason is clear. My mother hasn't pressured me to go and seems fine with my decision. I think this will avoid a lot of drama, and if there is drama, at least I won't be part of it. And you all know me, if there's drama, you can bet there'll be a post about it. Now, let's talk about the little elephant in the room, her sock pile. People have been wondering why no one noticed this issue before. I mean, she must have always been this messy, right? And yes, we knew, because we lived with her for 18 years. But ever since she moved out on her own, we never visited her apartment. I think I went once or twice, and one of those times was basically her housewarming party, so the place was still clean. When she lived alone, she had a tiny apartment, and no one visited because there was no space, literally. The housewarming party had people standing in the hallway. Usually, she'd come over to my house or my parents' house, where she was a bit messy but nothing extreme, just leaving her coffee mug anywhere. Yes, I've found one in the bathroom, and I've tripped over countless mugs on the floor, which I then had to replace. When she had her first marriage, they moved far away. My parents were preparing to visit when they suddenly announced their divorce, and she moved back. So, we always knew she was messy, but not to this extent. Now, we have confirmation that this isn't just gossip. She's actually joined a program to address her hoarding and cleanliness issues. She hasn't been admitted anywhere, but she's been attending group sessions with others dealing with similar problems. She's been living with her fiancé for a while now, so we can assume she's improved, at least enough for it not to be a deal breaker this time. Either she's gotten better, or her fiancé is just as messy as she is, and together, they might just end up adopting garbage bags as their kids. By the way, my son's birthday and the engagement party aren't even on the same weekend, so there's no way this could cause any conflict. And if there is drama, well, that's my sister's problem, not mine. Update 5. There was no drama at the engagement party, though, of course, there was gossip. But nothing major enough to come back and update you about. What I'm here to tell you today is about my sister's wedding. And yes, there's gossip. I didn't attend the wedding because I still stand by what I thought about the engagement party. My sister wasn't happy about it, but as far as I'm concerned, she can go ahead and eat one of her own sweaty, filthy socks. Now, let's talk about the wedding. It was a simple, no frills, low-budget wedding. I don't know much about her new husband, but the family gossip is that his family isn't as well off as her ex-fiancé's was. Personally, I believe weddings don't need to be expensive, but my father does not share that opinion. Well, at least not when he isn't the one paying. But I'll get to him later. The engagement party was also simple. It was held at my parents' house with only a small group of people invited. Of course, this was like throwing gasoline on a fire for the family gossip mill, which is why everyone talked about it so much. But as I said, nothing truly scandalous happened. The biggest drama was that some relatives weren't invited, but that was simply because it was a smaller wedding. Now, what is worth mentioning, and something I actually heard about during the engagement party, is that her fiancé smells. And I don't just mean, he skipped a shower, kind of smell. I mean, he smells like his clothes haven't seen a washing machine in weeks. Look, my sister may be messy and dirty, but at least she never smelled. But hey, this is about love, right? She found someone who truly compliments her. I'm trying really hard not to lose my breakfast right now. They're not two halves of an orange. They're a pair of filthy socks. But they're a pair of filthy socks that love each other. And in the end, that's what matters in life, finding your perfect match. Some people prefer that their match at least be clean, but hey, I don't want to sound pretentious. I won't be visiting her house anytime soon, not with all these horror stories from her ex-fiancé, especially now that she's found someone just like her. My decision to stay away from my sister is doing me a favor at this point. Oh, and before I forget, my father was not happy about this wedding. He had been promised a different kind of wedding last time, and this one didn't meet his expectations. If I were him, I'd just be grateful they didn't serve anything from my sister's fridge. Now that would have been a real disaster. Edit, my parents have visited my sister and her new husband's home, and yes, the sock pile has grown. But they couldn't tell if they all belonged to her or if it was now a shared collection from both of them. Either way, it wasn't pretty. Even the socks have tied the knot.